When money stress keeps you up at night, you're lying in bed at 2 a.m. staring at the ceiling. Your mind races through the same terrifying questions. How will I pay rent next month? What if my car breaks down? What happens if I lose my job? The knot in your stomach tightens as you calculate and recalculate numbers that never seem to add up. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Financial stress has become the modern plague that keeps millions of Americans awake at night, turning our bedrooms into torture chambers of worry and our days into anxiety-filled marathons. On March 11, 2020, when the coronavirus outbreak was officially declared a pandemic, this collective financial anxiety reached a fever pitch. COVID-19 didn't just threaten our health, it demolished entire industries overnight. Maybe you were one of the millions who got that dreaded call from HR. Maybe your thriving business became a ghost town. Or perhaps you watched your savings evaporate as the economy spiraled into chaos. Whatever your story, the pandemic exposed a truth we'd rather ignore: our financial security can vanish in an instant. Money problems hit differently than other challenges because they strike at our most primal fear: survival. When bills pile up and income dries up, our ancient brain sounds every alarm. Will I have food? Can I keep a roof over my head? This isn't just stress, it's an existential threat that triggers our deepest anxieties. Our modern world has made this worse by tying our self-worth to our net worth, turning every financial setback into a personal failure. But here's what 2,000 years of Stoic philosophy teaches us: while we can't control economic crashes, job losses, or market downturns, we have absolute power over something far more valuable: our response to these challenges. The ancient Stoics faced plagues, wars, exile, and poverty, yet they discovered principles that transformed hardship into wisdom, fear into courage, and scarcity into sufficiency. In this video, I'm going to share 7 powerful Stoic secrets that won't magically fill your bank account, but will do something even more valuable. They'll change how you think about money, dissolve the anxiety that's poisoning your days, and give you practical tools to navigate financial uncertainty with the unshakable calm of a philosopher. These aren't empty platitudes or toxic positivity, they're battle-tested strategies from people who lost everything and found that their greatest treasures couldn't be taken away. Whether you're drowning in debt, living paycheck to paycheck, or just tired of money fears controlling your life, these Stoic teachings will show you a different way. A way where peace of mind isn't dependent on your bank balance. A way you can face financial challenges without losing yourself in the process. Because as you're about to discover, the Stoics knew something we've forgotten in our money-obsessed culture. True wealth has nothing to do with what's in your wallet and everything to do with what's in your mind. 1. Why you need less money than you think. Let me take you back to ancient Rome, where some of the wealthiest people in history discovered something that would shock modern Americans: they didn't need their fortunes to be happy. The Stoics, despite many of them being senators, emperors, and successful merchants, were philosophical descendants of the Cynics, a school of thought that saw possessions as chains rather than treasures. They understood that while money could buy comfort, it couldn't purchase the things that actually matter: time, wisdom, and the power to choose your response to life. Think about what you actually need to survive. Not to thrive, not to impress, just to make it through another day. Food and shelter. That's it. If you're watching this video on YouTube, scrolling on your phone or computer, you've already got these basics covered. You have internet access, electricity, and enough free time to explore philosophy. By historical standards, you're already in the top tier of human comfort. Yet here you are, anxious about money. Why? The answer lies in how we've complicated our relationship with wealth. In modern America, especially in cities like New York, Los Angeles, or Chicago, money has become about so much more than survival. It's about keeping up with the Joneses, maintaining our social standing, and protecting our identity. You might tell yourself you need that income to survive, but dig deeper. Are you really worried about starving, or are you worried about what your friends will think if you can't afford drinks at that trendy rooftop bar? Are you scared of homelessness, or scared of moving to a less impressive neighborhood? Consider this scenario. Sarah, a marketing manager in San Francisco, lost her six-figure job during the tech layoffs. She panicked, not because she couldn't afford food, she had savings for that, but because she might have to give up her luxury apartment with the city view. She lay awake calculating how long she could maintain her lifestyle, not how long she could survive. The Stoics would ask Sarah, what are you really afraid of losing? Your life or your lifestyle? Seneca, one of Rome's wealthiest Stoics, saw this trap clearly. Despite owning multiple villas and commanding vast wealth, he regularly practiced voluntary poverty. He would spend days eating only bread and water, sleeping on the floor, wearing his roughest clothes. Why would a rich man do this? He wrote, "Fidelity purchased with money, money can destroy." Think about that. If your relationships depend on your ability to pay for things, what kind of relationships are they? If your spouse would leave you for losing your job, were they ever really with you? If your friends disappear when you can't pick up the check, were they friends or just expensive acquaintances? Here's an even more powerful insight from Seneca that cuts to the heart of our money anxiety. Suppose that you hold wealth to be a good. Poverty will then distress you, and, which is most pitiable, it will be an imaginary poverty. For you may be rich, and nevertheless, because your neighbor is richer, you suppose yourself to be poor exactly by the same amount in which you fall short of your neighbor. This imaginary poverty is the disease of our age. You're not actually poor, you just feel poor because someone else has more. You scroll through Instagram seeing vacation photos from Bali, designer handbags, and Tesla unveilings, and suddenly your reliable Honda and modest apartment feel like failures. You're not actually struggling, you're struggling to maintain a lifestyle that goes far beyond necessity. The Stoics would look at our modern anxiety and ask a simple question: if you're willing to sacrifice your peace of mind for luxuries, are you truly free, or have you enslaved yourself to comfort? Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in the world during his time, understood this deeply. In his private journal, he reminded himself, very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. This wasn't easy philosophy from an ivory tower, this was practical wisdom from a man who could have had anything but chose to need almost nothing. Let's get practical about what this means for your life today. Take inventory of your monthly expenses. How much goes to actual survival, basic food, basic shelter, basic transportation? Now look at everything else. The streaming subscriptions, the gym membership you barely use, the car payment for a vehicle fancier than necessary, the designer coffee every morning. None of these are evil, but recognizing them as choices rather than necessities changes everything. Consider another real-world example. Mike, a software developer in Seattle, conducted this exercise and discovered something shocking. His survival expenses, basic food, modest rent, utilities, and public transportation totaled just $2,000 monthly. Yet he was spending $6,500 and constantly stressed about money. The extra $4,500? Craft cocktails, expensive hobbies, a car he rarely drove, and clothes to impress people he didn't even like. When he saw these numbers, he realized he wasn't poor, he was funding an identity that was making him miserable. The Stoics had a term for this: preferred indifference. These are things that are generally preferable to have a health, wealth, reputation, but aren't necessary for virtue or happiness. Epictetus taught that we should enjoy these things if we have them, but be perfectly willing to let them go. He said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. This principle becomes even clearer when we look at different cultures and time periods. Most humans throughout history lived on what we would consider extreme poverty, yet they found meaning, joy, and purpose. Even today, studies consistently show that once basic needs are met, additional wealth has diminishing returns on happiness. The difference between making $30,000 and $60,000 is significant for well-being. The difference between $100,000 and $200,000? Barely noticeable in terms of life satisfaction. Understanding this doesn't mean you should give away everything and live in a cave. It means recognizing that everything beyond basic survival is a choice, not a necessity. When you truly grasp this, financial pressure loses its death grip on your throat. You realize you're not fighting for survival, you're fighting for status. And status, the Stoics knew, is a game where the only winning move is not to play. This shift in perspective is the first step toward financial peace. When you stop confusing wants with needs, when you stop measuring your worth by your wealth, when you realize that happiness comes from wisdom rather than bank balances, you've already won the only game that matters. You've discovered what the Stoics knew all along. You need far less money than you think, and recognizing this truth is the beginning of real freedom. 2. The one thing you can control when bills pile up. Imagine this scene. It's 3 a.m. in your apartment in downtown Chicago. You're sitting at your kitchen table, surrounded by a fortress of unpaid bills. Credit card statements, medical bills, rent notices, they're spread out like a map of your financial disaster. Your laptop glows with your bank account, showing a number that's painfully smaller than the total of those bills. Your heart races as you run the same calculations for the 100th time, hoping somehow the math will work out differently. You're trying to control the uncontrollable, and it's driving you insane. Here's what 2,000 years of Stoic wisdom teaches us. There's not a single worry in the world that can stop bad things from happening. Read that again. All those sleepless nights, all that anxiety churning in your stomach, all those disaster scenarios playing in your head, none of them have ever prevented a single bill from arriving or added a single dollar to your account. Worry is like a rocking chair. It gives you something to do but doesn't get you anywhere. The Stoics had a fundamental principle called the dichotomy of control, and it's especially powerful when facing a financial crisis. Epictetus, who went from slave to philosopher, put it simply: some things are within our power and some things are not. You can't control whether your company lays you off. You can't control whether the economy crashes. You can't control whether your medical emergency wipes out your savings. But you can control one thing, and it's the only thing that matters: what you do right now in this present moment. Think about how we typically respond to money problems. We project into the future. What if I can't pay rent next month? What if they shut off my electricity? What if I lose my house? We replay the past. If only I hadn't lost that job. If only I'd saved more. If only I'd made different choices. Meanwhile, the present moment, the only place where change can actually happen, slips by unused. We're so busy time traveling that we forget to act in the only time that exists, now. Marcus Aurelius, who dealt with plagues, wars, and the complexity of running an empire, wrote, "Confine yourself to the present." This isn't feel-good advice, it's a practical strategy. When you're drowning in financial stress, the future looks like an endless ocean of problems. But you don't have to swim the entire ocean. You just have to take the next stroke. Let me show you what this looks like in practice. Jennifer, a single mom in Phoenix, lost her job and faced eviction. She could have spent her days paralyzed by fear, imagining her kids homeless. Instead, she applied Stoic principles. She asked herself, what can I control right now, today? The answer: she could update her resume. She could make 5 phone calls to potential employers. She could research assistance programs. She could negotiate with her landlord. Each action was small, but each was within her control. The Stoics teach us to compartmentalize our challenges. Instead of seeing financial ruin, break it down. Today, you're not solving your entire financial future. Today, you're making one phone call to a creditor. Today, you're applying to 3 jobs. Today, you're selling one item you don't need. The mountain of debt becomes a series of small, manageable hills. Seneca offers powerful advice about this present moment focus. Every new thing excites the mind, but a mind that seeks truth turns from the new and superficial to the old and profound. Your financial problems feel new and overwhelming, but the solution is ancient and simple. Act on what you can control, ignore what you can't. Here's a practical exercise the Stoics would approve of. Take out a piece of paper and draw a line down the middle. On the left, write what I can control. On the right, write what I cannot control. Be brutally honest. You cannot control whether you get hired. You can control whether you apply. You cannot control your past financial mistakes. You can control your next financial decision. You cannot control the economy. You can control your effort, your attitude, and your actions. The power of present moment action extends beyond just practical results. When you focus on what you can control right now, something magical happens. Anxiety diminishes. Why? Because anxiety lives in the future. It feeds on uncertainty and speculation. When you anchor yourself in present action, you starve anxiety of its fuel. You can't be worried about next month's rent when you're fully engaged in today's job application. Consider how Marcus Aurelius handled overwhelming challenges. He wrote, "Never let the future disturb you. You will meet it if you have to with the same weapons of reason which today arm you against the present." Those weapons of reason? They're your ability to think clearly, to act decisively, and to focus on what's within your power. The most liberating truth about financial stress is this: you don't have to solve everything today. You don't even have to see the whole path forward. You just have to take the next right action. And then the next. And then the next. The Stoics understood that life isn't lived in years or months or even days. Life is lived in moments, and this moment right now is the only one where your power exists. When bills pile up and panic sets in, remember, you control your effort, not the outcome. You control your response, not the situation. You control this moment, not the future. And that's enough. Because in this moment, focused on what you can actually influence, you're more powerful than any financial crisis. You're practicing the ultimate Stoic wisdom, the art of turning obstacles into opportunities, one present moment at a time. 3. How to ask for financial help without feeling ashamed. Imagine this: you're a successful accountant in Boston who's never missed a bill payment in your life. You pride yourself on being the one others come to for financial advice. Then COVID hits. Your firm downsizes. Suddenly, you're staring at your phone, your finger hovering over your brother's contact, unable to press call. The thought of asking for money makes your stomach turn. You'd rather go hungry than admit you need help. Sound familiar? You're not alone. In our culture of rugged individualism, asking for financial help feels like admitting failure. But the Stoics knew better. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in Rome, wrote something that might shock our modern sensibilities: don't be ashamed to need help. Like a soldier storming a wall, you have a mission to accomplish. And if you've been wounded and you need a comrade to pull you up, so what? Think about that image. A wounded soldier isn't weak for needing help, they're smart for recognizing they can't complete the mission alone. Your mission is to get through this financial crisis. Are you going to let pride be the thing that defeats you? The Stoics understood something profound about human nature. We're not designed to be independent, we're designed to be interdependent. Look at how nature works. Trees share nutrients through underground networks. Wolves hunt in packs. Even at the cellular level, mitochondria and cells work together for mutual benefit. Humans trying to go it alone aren't strong, they're fighting against the very nature of existence. During the COVID-19 crisis, we saw this truth play out dramatically. Remember those early days? Neighbors helping neighbors. People delivering groceries to the elderly. Communities are creating mutual aid networks. GoFundMe campaigns raising millions for strangers. This wasn't unusual human behavior, this was humans returning to their natural state of cooperation. The crisis stripped away our pretense of independence and revealed what we really are, a species that survives through helping each other. Let's talk about why asking for help feels so hard. In cities like New York or San Francisco, we've built entire identities around being self-made, self-sufficient, and self-reliant. We wear our independence like armor. But Seneca, who understood both wealth and poverty, saw through this illusion. Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Your financial independence didn't spring from nowhere. Someone helped you get your first job, taught you your skills, gave you opportunities. You've been receiving help your entire life, you just called it something else. Here's what research tells us about asking for help. People actually like you more when you ask for assistance. It's called the Benjamin Franklin effect. When someone helps you, their brain justifies the effort by deciding you must be worth helping. By asking for help, you're not diminishing yourself, you're giving someone else the opportunity to feel valuable and connected. You're allowing them to practice virtue. The Stoics took this even further. They believed that helping others was essential to human flourishing. Seneca wrote, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." When you refuse to ask for help, you're not being strong, you're denying someone else the chance to practice kindness. You're hoarding the opportunity for human connection. Let me share a practical example. David, a restaurant owner in Miami, watched his business collapse during lockdown. He'd always been the one writing checks to charity, helping family members, being the successful one. The thought of asking for help was crushing. But then he remembered Marcus Aurelius's soldier metaphor. He wasn't failing, he was wounded in battle. He reached out to his network, not with shame, but with clarity. "I'm facing a challenge, and I need support to get through it." The response overwhelmed him. Former employees offered to work for free. Customers started a fundraiser. Suppliers extended credit. His vulnerability didn't diminish him, it revealed how valued he was. Here's how to ask for help the Stoic way. First, be specific. Don't say, "I'm struggling." Say, "I need $500 for rent this month," or "I need help finding job leads and marketing." Specificity makes it easier for people to help and shows you've thought things through. Second, be honest about your situation without drama. State facts, not catastrophes. Third, offer what you can in return. Maybe you can't repay money immediately, but can you offer skills, time, or future reciprocity? The Stoics also understood that asking for help requires wisdom about who to ask. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Adapt yourself to the life your lot has given you and love the people with whom fate has surrounded you." Your lot includes being temporarily in need. The people fate has surrounded you with include those positioned to help. This isn't random, it's the natural flow of human community. Remember, too, that financial help isn't the only kind of help. Maybe you need emotional support, job connections, advice, or just someone to listen. The Stoics valued all forms of mutual aid. Epictetus taught that we're all parts of a larger whole, like actors in a play. Sometimes you play the helper, sometimes the helped. Both roles have dignity. Here's the deepest Stoic insight about asking for help. It's an act of courage, not weakness. It takes strength to be vulnerable. It takes wisdom to recognize your limits. It takes virtue to trust in human goodness. When you ask for help, you're not failing at self-reliance, you're succeeding at being human. The shame you feel about needing help? That's not wisdom talking, that's ego. And ego, the Stoics knew, is the enemy of peace. Epictetus said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." If you think you know that needing help means failure, you can't learn the truth that needing help means you're human, connected, and wise enough to use all available resources. In the end, asking for help during financial hardship isn't about money, it's about recognizing your place in the human community. You're not an island of self-sufficiency. You're part of an interconnected web of mutual support that has kept our species alive for millennia. The Stoics knew this. Now you do too. The only question is, will you let false pride keep you from the help that's waiting for you? 4. You're not the only one struggling with money. Here's a scene playing out in millions of homes across America right now. You're scrolling through social media at midnight, seeing friends post about their vacations, new cars, and celebration dinners. Each image feels like a personal attack on your bank account. You close the app and stare at your ceiling, convinced you're the only one who can't get their financial life together. Everyone else seems to have it figured out while you're drowning. But here's what those carefully curated posts don't show: the credit card debt behind the vacation photos, the anxiety behind the smiling selfies, the sleepless nights hidden behind the success stories. Let me share some numbers that might shock you. According to recent Federal Reserve data, 40% of Americans can't cover a $400 emergency expense. Read that again. Nearly half of the richest country in the world lives on the financial edge. 78% of workers live paycheck to paycheck. The average American has $6,194 in credit card debt. Student loan debt has reached $1.7 trillion. These aren't lazy people or failures. These are teachers, nurses, engineers, and small business owners. These are your neighbors who look successful from the outside but are fighting the same financial battles you are. Seneca, who experienced both extreme wealth and political exile, understood this deeply. He wrote, "I may become a poor man, I shall then be one among many." Notice he didn't say, "I'll be alone in my poverty." He said he'd be one among many. Even 2,000 years ago, the Stoics recognized that financial struggle is the common human experience, not the exception. Think about what happens in your city during economic downturns. In Los Angeles, luxury apartment buildings offer months of free rent to attract tenants. In Manhattan, even high earners lose jobs and move back in with their parents. In Chicago, successful restaurants close overnight. The pandemic showed us how quickly anyone can go from comfortable to struggling. That executive who seemed untouchable? Laid off. That thriving yoga studio? Shuttered. That friend who always picked up the check? Now splitting appetizers to save money. The Stoics had a powerful concept called sympathia, the mutual connection between all things. Marcus Aurelius described it. We were born to work together, like feet, hands, and eyes, like the two rows of teeth, upper and lower. To obstruct each other is unnatural. Your financial struggles aren't isolating you from humanity, they're connecting you to it. You're experiencing what billions of humans throughout history have faced, the challenge of making ends meet in an uncertain world. Here's what's really happening when you feel alone in your money troubles. You're comparing your inside to everyone else's outside. You know your own financial anxiety intimately, every declined card, every postponed purchase, every bill you're juggling. But you only see others' highlight reels. That couple dining at expensive restaurants? They might be charging it to nearly maxed out credit cards. Your friend with the new Tesla? Could be drowning in payments they can't afford. The colleague who seems financially set might be one paycheck away from disaster. Seneca understood this illusion of others' prosperity. He wrote, "No one can have all he wants, but a man can refrain from wanting what he has not, and cheerfully make the best of a bird in the hand." The wealthy Romans he knew were just as anxious about money as the poor, they just worried about different amounts. The merchant feared losing his ships, the senator feared losing his estates, the emperor feared losing his treasury. Financial anxiety scales with wealth, it doesn't disappear. Let me tell you about Maria, a nurse in Houston who thought she was the only one struggling. She worked overtime shifts but still couldn't save money. She felt ashamed driving her old car to work while other nurses drove new SUVs. Then the hospital's financial counselor started a support group for staff dealing with money stress. Maria discovered that the nurse with the new SUV was $80,000 in debt. The doctor she envied was working extra shifts to pay alimony. The administrator who seemed wealthy was supporting elderly parents and had no savings. They were all struggling, just with different details. The Stoics teach us that recognizing our shared struggles isn't about finding comfort in others' misery. It's about understanding our common humanity. Epictetus, who went from slave to teacher, said, "When I see an anxious person, I ask myself, what do they want? For if a person wasn't wanting something outside of their own control, why would they be stricken by anxiety? That anxiety you feel about money? It's the same anxiety felt by the millionaire worried about becoming a 100,000aire. The amounts differ, the human experience remains the same. Here's something else to consider. Western Europe's social safety nets that Americans often envy? Even there, financial stress persists. Germans worry about maintaining their standard of living. The French protest pension reforms. The British face heating or eating choices. No system eliminates financial concern because the issue isn't just about money, it's about human nature's tendency to want security in an inherently insecure world. Marcus Aurelius offers a powerful reframe. Remember that very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking. When you realize you're not alone in struggling, something shifts. The shame lifts. The isolation breaks. You stop wasting energy pretending everything's fine and start using that energy to actually make things better. The truth is, financial struggle is so common it's practically universal. From ancient Rome to modern America, from minimum wage workers to millionaires, everyone wrestles with money concerns. The Stoics knew this and found freedom in accepting it. You're not failing at some game everyone else is winning. You're participating in the most common human experience, trying to build security in an uncertain world. So the next time you feel alone in your financial struggles, remember Seneca's words about joining the many. Look around with clear eyes. That barista making your coffee, that Uber driver, that person in the expensive suit, they're all fighting financial battles too. You're not alone. You're part of a vast community of humans doing their best with what they have. And recognizing this connection is the first step from isolation to empowerment. 5. Why peace of mind beats a fat bank account. Consider this scenario. Two neighbors live on the same street in Denver. Robert is an investment banker with a 7-figure portfolio, multiple properties, and a garage full of luxury cars. Every morning at 5 a.m., he's already on his phone, checking market futures, his blood pressure rising with every notification. He takes anxiety medication to sleep, drinks to cope with stress, and hasn't enjoyed a meal without checking his phone in years. His net worth is impressive. His life is miserable. Next door lives James, a high school teacher. He drives a 10-year-old Honda, rents his home, and has modest savings. But James sleeps soundly, enjoys long walks with his dog, reads philosophy in the evenings, and laughs easily with friends. He's not wealthy by any measure except the one that matters most: peace of mind. The Stoics would say James is the richer man. Epictetus, who experienced both slavery and freedom, delivered one of philosophy's most countercultural teachings on this subject. If you want to improve, reject such reasonings as these. If I neglect my affairs, I'll have no income. If I don't correct my servant, he will be bad. For it is better to die with hunger, exempt from grief and fear, than to live in affluence with perturbation. And it is better your servant should be bad then you unhappy. This sounds extreme to modern ears. Die with hunger? But Epictetus wasn't promoting starvation. He was making a radical point about priorities. What good is a full bank account if your mind is tortured? What value is financial success if you've sacrificed your sanity to achieve it? He's asking us to confront an uncomfortable truth. We often trade our peace for money, then use that money trying to buy back our peace. It's a fool's bargain. The modern world makes this trade-off seem normal, even admirable. We glorify the entrepreneur working 100-hour weeks, the executive who never takes vacation, the hustler who sacrifices everything for success. But the Stoics saw this as a form of slavery. Seneca wrote, "Every man is in bondage to fear who depends upon chance for his happiness." When your mood depends on your bank balance, you're not free, you're enslaved to numbers on a screen. Let me share what this looks like in practice. Sarah, a marketing director in Seattle, earned $150,000 annually but lived in constant anxiety. She worked weekends, skipped family gatherings, and developed stress-related health issues. Her breaking point came during a panic attack in her corner office. She realized she was literally killing herself for money she didn't even have time to enjoy. Inspired by Stoic philosophy, she took a 40% pay cut to work at a nonprofit. Her friends thought she was crazy. 6 months later, off anxiety medication and reconnected with loved ones, she wondered why she'd waited so long. The Stoics understood something neuroscience now confirms. Beyond meeting basic needs, increased wealth has diminishing returns on happiness. Studies show that emotional well-being plateaus at a relatively modest income. But there's no plateau for peace of mind, it can grow infinitely. Marcus Aurelius, who could have any material pleasure, wrote, "Very little is needed to make a happy life. It is all within yourself, in your way of thinking." This doesn't mean the Stoics were against earning money or building wealth. They were against sacrificing your tranquility for it. There's a crucial difference between working with purpose and working with desperation. When you put tranquility first, you might still work hard, but you work from a place of strength, not fear. You make better decisions because you're not driven by anxiety. Paradoxically, prioritizing peace often leads to better financial outcomes because you're thinking clearly, not reactively. The Stoics had a practice that modern followers call amor fati, loving your fate. This isn't passive resignation, it's active acceptance. It means embracing whatever comes, including financial uncertainty, as part of your journey. When you practice amor fati, you stop fighting reality and start working with it. You stop saying, "If only I had more money, then I'd be happy," and start saying, "I'll be happy now, regardless of my bank balance." Here's a practical exercise. Write down everything you've sacrificed for money. Sleep, health, relationships, joy. Now write down what that money actually bought you. More stress? Bigger bills? Fancier problems? The calculation rarely balances. We give up priceless things for money, then discover money can't buy them back. You can't purchase the years you missed with your children. You can't buy back your health once it's broken. You can't retroactively enjoy the moments you spent worrying. Seneca, despite his wealth, regularly practiced voluntary hardship to maintain perspective. He would spend days eating simple food, wearing rough clothes, sleeping on the floor. Not as punishment, but as reminder, is this what I'm so afraid of? When you realize you can be content with little, you stop fearing losing much. This isn't about becoming poor. It's about becoming fearless. The ultimate Stoic insight is that tranquility isn't something you achieve after reaching financial goals. It's something you practice while pursuing them. Marcus Aurelius didn't say, "I'll find peace after I secure the empire." He found peace while managing it. You don't need to wait until your bank account reaches some magic number. Peace is available right now, in this moment, regardless of your financial situation. Think about the last time you felt truly peaceful. Was it because of your bank balance? Or was it something simpler? A sunset? A good conversation? A moment of clarity? These experiences cost nothing but are worth everything. The Stoics knew that the best things in life aren't just free, they're beyond price. No amount of money can buy a calm mind, but a calm mind can make any amount of money sufficient. This is why peace of mind beats a fat bank account every time. Money is a tool, useful but limited. Peace is a state of being valuable beyond measure. When you have money without peace, you're rich but miserable. When you have peace without money, you're poor but content. But when you put peace first, something magical happens. You often find both success and satisfaction because you're operating from wisdom, not worry. The Stoics discovered this secret millennia ago. The question is, will you? 6. The gratitude trick that kills money anxiety. Imagine this. You wake up in the morning, the sunlight streaming through your window, but instead of feeling grateful for another day, your mind races to the bills stacked on your kitchen counter. You think, how am I going to pay these? What if I can't make it this month? In that moment, gratitude feels like a distant memory overshadowed by financial anxiety. Yet, what if I told you that practicing gratitude could flip that script entirely? The Stoics understood the power of gratitude long before it became a modern trend. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil. But I have seen the beauty of good and the ugliness of evil and have recognized that the wrongdoer has a nature related to my own." What he's expressing here isn't just acceptance of the world as it is, it's a deep-rooted gratitude for the chance to choose how he responds to it. When you practice gratitude, you shift your focus from lack to abundance. Instead of fixating on what you don't have, money, security, status, you begin to appreciate what you do have, relationships, health, opportunities. This simple shift can profoundly alter your perspective on money and, consequently, your anxiety around it. Let's explore a practical example. Consider Lisa, a freelance graphic designer in Atlanta. For months, she struggled to find consistent work. Each month, her savings dwindled and anxiety crept in. Bills piled up and the stress of financial uncertainty consumed her thoughts. One day, while listening to a podcast on Stoicism, she heard about gratitude practices. Skeptical but desperate, she decided to try it. Every morning, Lisa began a ritual of writing down 3 things she was grateful for. At first, it was difficult. "I'm grateful for my coffee," she'd write. "I'm grateful for my cat." But gradually, her lists grew deeper. She began to appreciate her supportive family, the freedom of being her own boss, and the creative opportunities that came her way. Instead of waking up to stress, she started looking forward to her mornings as a time to reflect on the good in her life. As she practiced gratitude, something remarkable happened. Rather than being paralyzed by her financial situation, Lisa became proactive. She began reaching out to past clients for work, exploring new design projects, and even offering her services to local businesses needing help with their branding. Her confidence grew, and so did her client base. With each new project, she felt less anxious about money and more empowered to navigate her freelance career. Gratitude can be a powerful antidote to anxiety, particularly financial anxiety. Why? Because it shifts your mental energy away from fear and toward appreciation. When you're grateful, you can't simultaneously feel fearful. You can't focus on what you lack when you're celebrating what you possess. This is a core tenet of Stoic philosophy, focusing on what you can control, which includes your mindset and your attitude. Epictetus, another prominent Stoic philosopher, famously said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This is the essence of gratitude. By recognizing and appreciating what you already have, you realize that you need far less to be content. This realization can alleviate the constant pressure to earn more, spend more, and worry more. Try this exercise. At the end of each day, take a few moments to reflect on what went well. Write down at least 5 things you appreciate about your day, no matter how small. Did you enjoy a delicious meal? Did a friend reach out to check on you? Did you have a productive conversation with a colleague? Each of these moments contributes to your overall sense of well-being and reminds you of the abundance in your life. Gratitude also helps you combat the societal pressures that fuel financial anxiety. We live in a culture that constantly tells us we need more money, more possessions, more status. Social media amplifies this pressure, making it easy to compare yourself to others. But when you practice gratitude, you create a buffer against this toxic comparison. You start to realize that your worth isn't determined by your bank account or your possessions. Instead, it's defined by how you choose to live your life and the relationships you cultivate. Seneca advised, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." This quote encapsulates the essence of gratitude. When you crave more and focus on what you lack, you create a cycle of discontent. But by practicing gratitude, you cultivate a mindset of sufficiency. You begin to understand that happiness doesn't come from accumulating wealth, but from appreciating the richness of your experiences and connections. Another powerful aspect of gratitude is that it fosters resilience. When you face financial challenges, a gratitude practice can help you stay grounded and focused. Instead of succumbing to despair when bills pile up, you can remind yourself of your strengths and past successes. You can draw on the supportive network of friends and family that you're grateful for. This resilience can empower you to tackle challenges instead of avoiding them. Let's revisit Lisa's story. As she continued her gratitude practice, she learned to celebrate small victories. Each new client became a reason for joy, and each completed project was a testament to her hard work. Instead of viewing her financial situation as a crisis, she began to see it as a challenge, one she was more than capable of overcoming. With renewed energy and confidence, she not only stabilized her finances but also found a newfound passion for her work. Incorporating gratitude into your life is not a one-time exercise, it's a continuous practice. Just like the Stoics trained their minds to respond to challenges with wisdom and virtue, you can train yours to respond with gratitude. This shift can transform the way you view your financial situation, allowing you to approach it with clarity instead of fear. As you embark on your own gratitude journey, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." By choosing to focus on gratitude, you elevate your thoughts and, in turn, your life. Financial anxiety may still arise, but with a foundation of gratitude, you'll find it easier to navigate those feelings and take action toward positive change. 7. Turn your money problems into Stoic training. Let's face it, financial problems can feel overwhelming. They can loom over you like a dark cloud, casting a shadow on your day-to-day life and clouding your perspective. But what if I told you that these financial challenges could be transformed into opportunities for growth? What if you could view money problems not just as burdens but as Stoic training for resilience, character, and wisdom? This is the essence of Stoicism, using adversity as a tool for personal development. The Stoics believed that obstacles are not merely things to be avoided or feared, they are training grounds for our minds and spirits. Seneca, one of the prominent Stoics, wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body." This quote captures the Stoic approach perfectly. Just as physical exercise builds muscle, the challenges we face, especially financial ones, can build our mental and emotional resilience. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine John, who recently lost his job due to company downsizing. Initially, he felt devastated. The anxiety of mounting bills and uncertainty about the future consumed him. However, after reading some Stoic texts, John decided to shift his perspective. Instead of viewing his job loss as a catastrophe, he began to see it as an opportunity for growth. He asked himself, what can I learn from this situation? How can I use this time to develop skills that will make me more marketable? Through this lens, John enrolled in online courses to learn new software relevant to his field. He began networking with others in his industry, reaching out for informational interviews rather than solely for job opportunities. By reframing his situation, John turned what felt like a crisis into a period of personal development. He emerged from unemployment not just with new skills but with a stronger sense of confidence and adaptability. This is the first step in converting money problems into Stoic training. Reframe your mindset. Instead of seeing financial difficulties as setbacks, view them as opportunities to cultivate virtues such as patience, perseverance, and resourcefulness. What can you learn about budgeting when you need to stretch your income? How can you become more creative in finding solutions to your problems? The Stoics believed that every challenge offers a lesson, and embracing this perspective can empower you to face your fears head-on. Another Stoic principle that can guide you in this process is the idea of voluntary discomfort. Seneca often practiced this by simplifying his life, reminding himself that true wealth lies in contentment rather than accumulation. He would spend time living simply, eating basic meals, and foregoing luxuries to appreciate the essentials. This practice is not about glorifying poverty, it's about recognizing that you can thrive with less. Consider Sarah, a marketing professional who recently faced financial instability after her company cut her hours. Instead of giving in to despair, she decided to adopt Seneca's practice of voluntary discomfort. She began a month-long challenge where she only spent money on absolute necessities. She cooked meals at home instead of dining out, canceled her streaming subscriptions, and found joy in free activities like hiking and visiting local parks. This experience not only alleviated her financial stress but also helped her appreciate the simple pleasures in life, like quality time with friends and family. The challenge taught Sarah that her happiness didn't depend on material wealth. Incorporating voluntary discomfort into your life can provide profound insights into what you truly value. It helps you differentiate between wants and needs, fostering a sense of gratitude for the things you often take for granted. As Marcus Aurelius advised, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. By acknowledging your power to control your reactions to money problems, you can cultivate a stronger, more resilient mindset. Another important Stoic practice is premeditatio malorum, or the premeditation of evils. This involves contemplating potential difficulties in advance, which can help you prepare mentally for challenges. In the context of financial stress, this means thinking about the worst-case scenarios and developing plans to address them. For instance, if you fear losing your job, consider what steps you would take if that happened. Would you update your resume? Would you start networking? Would you look for side gigs? By doing this mental exercise, you can reduce the fear of the unknown. When you anticipate challenges, they become less daunting. As Epictetus famously said, no man is free who is not master of himself. By mastering your mindset, you become empowered to take action rather than remain paralyzed by fear. Let's explore how this works in real life. Maria, a small business owner, faced significant financial challenges when a major client abruptly canceled their contract. Initially, she panicked, fearing bankruptcy. But then she practiced premeditatio malorum. She listed all the potential outcomes. What if she lost her business? What if she couldn't pay her employees? What if she had to downsize? Then she wrote down her responses to each scenario. This exercise clarified her options and helped her devise a contingency plan. Instead of feeling crushed by uncertainty, Maria felt empowered. She recognized that while she couldn't control her client's decision, she could control how she responded. This method not only builds resilience but also fosters a sense of agency. When you face money problems, it's easy to feel powerless. However, through the Stoic lens, you can transform that feeling into proactive planning. It's about taking control of your situation even when the circumstances are beyond your control. The final piece of turning money problems into Stoic training is recognizing the interconnectedness of our struggles. As Seneca wrote, we are all in this together. When you face financial challenges, remember that you are not alone. Many people are experiencing similar difficulties, and reaching out to others can provide support, insights, and encouragement. Consider forming or joining a support group where you can share your experiences and strategies for overcoming financial challenges. This mutual sharing not only helps you feel less isolated, but can also lead to creative solutions and new opportunities. You may discover that someone in the group knows of job openings, or that someone else has successfully navigated a similar situation and can offer valuable advice. In conclusion, your money problems can become your greatest teachers. By reframing your mindset, practicing voluntary discomfort, employing premeditatio malorum, and recognizing your interconnectedness with others, you can turn financial challenges into opportunities for growth. The Stoics understood that adversity is a natural part of life, but it is how we respond that defines our character. As you face financial obstacles, remember the words of Marcus Aurelius, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. Embrace your challenges as the very tools that will shape you into a stronger, wiser, and more resilient person, and watch as you transform your financial anxieties into lessons of strength and perseverance. Your financial peace starts now. As we draw to a close, let's reflect on the journey we've taken through the lens of Stoic philosophy. We've explored how to worry less about money and how to transform financial challenges into opportunities for growth. In a world that's often chaotic and unpredictable, Stoicism offers a timeless toolkit for cultivating inner peace, resilience, and clarity in the face of adversity. The teachings of the Stoics remind us that financial troubles are not unique to us. They are a shared human experience. The wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and Epictetus teaches us that we have the power to choose our responses to external circumstances. Remember the words of Marcus Aurelius: "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This is the crux of Stoic philosophy. While we may not control the financial winds that blow our way, we can control how we sail our ship. Throughout our discussions, we've emphasized the importance of reframing our mindset. We've learned that instead of seeing financial difficulties as insurmountable obstacles, we can view them as opportunities for personal growth and resilience. By practicing gratitude, embracing voluntary discomfort, and engaging in premeditatio malorum, we can turn our challenges into stepping stones toward a more fulfilling life. Consider the stories of individuals like John and Sarah, who navigated their financial storms with the wisdom of the Stoics. They didn't let their circumstances define them. Instead, they used their struggles as a catalyst for change. You too can follow their example. When faced with financial adversity, remember that you have the tools to respond with strength and clarity. Now is the time to take action. Reflect on the practical strategies we've discussed. Start a gratitude journal, listing 3 things you appreciate each day. Challenge yourself to embrace voluntary discomfort, even in small ways, to gain a deeper appreciation for what truly matters. And when financial worries arise, practice premeditatio malorum. Anticipate challenges and develop a plan to address them. As you embark on this journey toward financial peace, remember that you are not alone. The Stoics remind us that we are all part of a greater whole. Reach out to friends, family, or community members who may be experiencing similar challenges. Share your experiences and support one another. Together, you can create a network of resilience and encouragement. Finally, if you found value in this content, we invite you to take action. Subscribe to the Stoic Vivu channel for more insights on Stoic philosophy applied to modern life. Like this video and share it with friends and family who may benefit from these teachings. Together, we can spread the wisdom of the Stoics and help others find their way through life's challenges. In closing, remember that financial peace is not a distant goal to be achieved. It is a state of mind that you can cultivate right now. By embracing the principles of Stoicism, you can transform your relationship with money and empower yourself to face any challenge that comes your way. The journey begins today. Take that first step toward a life filled with peace, purpose, and resilience.